Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. I'm getting ready to get this workout in, so I'm not gonna hang out on here too long. But I did want to come on and talk about a show that I've been enjoying on HBO. You saw the title. It's called The Undoing, starring Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, and HBO has another hit in terms of its limited series. I think is what they call in this genre. But going back to the night of, I think Sharp Objects was the one with Amy Adams. I want to say, and the Undoing. HBO has really been killing it with its programming. So the Undoing is based on a book called You Should Have Known. I think it was out in like 2014 or something, 2016. Um, and I kind of just like Lovecraft, um, with it having some source material that I wasn't familiar with. I had to fall back and kind of get an idea of what I was dealing with before I just dove in, saying, weighing in with my critiques and whatnot. Um, but let me see. I think Lovecraft was on Showtime. I want to say. I could be wrong there. Kind of moved on from Lovecraft, but anyway, here with the Undoing. For those that don't know, and it looks like it's only going to be 6 episodes. So last night was episode 3, Do No Harm, and I think that's the oath for doctors or something, or the first rule of medicine or something. Um, and that's who Nicole Kidman's husband, Hugh Grant, was an oncologist specializing, I guess, in treating children with cancer. And he worked himself in this position and that's the thing, because the Undoing. If you watch if you watch the intro to it on a weekly basis, it kind of doesn't make sense with what this show is about, and that's why I didn't talk about this the first 2 episodes, because the intro music and the introduction kind of had me messed up with what is this. But I guess now here in episode 3, I can kind of see that the Undoing is actually about, maybe she lived in, maybe Grace Fraser, who's played by Nicole Kidman, maybe she lived in this perfect world when we meet her, and only for a short couple of, a short, only for a few hours is her life perfect before she finds herself entangled in this murder investigation as a result of what appears to be something that her husband did with this young woman that she just started noticing, and just came into her world. So backing it up to the first episode, the first 2 episodes, um, Grace Fraser is this doctor, this or a psychiatrist or something, psychologist. She a therapist, and she's treating patients and doing her thing. Her husband is like I said, a successful oncologist at a hospital in New York City. They live in Manhattan. So I'm thinking of Midtown, but Manhattan, and they have this great life. They stay in this excellent apartment, and they have a son, Henry, who, I don't know, he's 13, 14 years old or something. He attends this really prestigious school in the city called Reardon, and kind of where we start learning the other characters is his mother is a part of this fundraiser committee for Reardon, and they meet with these other moms who have, these different careers and a certain status in the city. And then there's this one female that's there who's a new mom, and she's not like everybody else, doesn't come from the same means that they come from, and it's just some tension going on with her and the rest of the ladies. And a couple of scenes later, Nicole Kidman she encounters this young lady at her gym, and she confronts her fully nude in the dressing room, and it was just a very weird situation. And then they go ahead and they end up having the fundraiser, and all of the women are there, and then this young lady named Elena, I think Elena Alves, and for something's going on with her at the fundraiser. She's getting attention from a lot of men. She's attractive and whatnot. A lot of men are hanging around her, and the other women notice it. And then Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant are there, and she points out to him that that's the female that I told you about, who I encountered. You know, I had the weird encounter with the at the gym, and then she showed up at our fundraising committee thing, and that's her. And he looks over to her, and I had a feeling that he knew who she was. I did. Um, he looks over and says something, and then kind of downplays the situation and quickly moves on to something else. So anyway, working through the first two episodes, and it's working kind of quickly because it's only 6 episodes. But she ends up dead at the end of the younger lady, Elena, ends up dead. Gruesome, gruesome killing. Her face has been bludgeoned with something, and she's all disfigured and so on and so forth. But her stepson comes in and finds her, and then goes and gets the police, and that's at the end of the cliffhanger. That's been one of the strengths of this series, is that the cliffhanger, when I wasn't losing interest, but I didn't know where I was really going with my interest in the show. um with it being must watch TV for me, anything. The cliffhanger at the end of the first episode, I believe, is when they have discovered the body. The investigation has launched, and later on that night, Nicole Kidman goes to start calling her husband to tell him and inform him of the young lady being dead. And when she makes a call, she hears a phone buzzing in the nightstand. So she calls it again, and figures out, her husband's phone is there. So this is weird. Then she goes on to start calling, because he said he was going to a medical conference in Cleveland, and she starts calling the hotel, I guess, that he normally stays at. And when she calls there, they have no one by that name. And then she calls around and gets to somebody at another hotel named Jonathan Fraser. But she answers, the person that answers the phone is clearly not her husband. So that was the cliffhanger at the end of episode 1. Episode 2, Jonathan goes on you know, he gets out of town and goes into hiding as they're looking for the suspect who killed Elena. Everything is kind of unraveling very quickly for the family, because they have a good idea that he's involved somehow. And so let's jump to episode 3. He pops up. The husband pops up at their beach house, and Nicole Kidman is so distraught, so furious with what's happened. She calls the cops on. She calls the police and lets them know that her husband, that's wanted, by every, come get him. And so they do. There was some history between. Actually, I think he tells her that when he shows up. Hey, I knew her. We were in a relationship. She came on to me. This started. So on and so forth. And so she hates him, understandably so. Um, Also, before this, she had went to another thing that wasn't looking good for her husband. Is she went to his job. Was She went to his job to ask some questions and see if they knew anything about about this conference that he said he was at that he wasn't, and one of his best friends or one of his coworkers starts acting really weird and saying that I can't talk to you. I'm bound by confidentiality or something, an NDA or something. I should be talking to you. I can't be seen with you. And we all learned that from the detectives that he's been fired for like 3 months. So like I said, I guess that's what the undoing the title stems from, is how everything kind of unwraps for Grace Fraser pretty quickly. So let's get to last night's episode, which heats things up further, and really just turns these last three episodes into must watch. Um, the police are steadily investigating, and now Grace goes over to it. Donald Sutherland. I've only really recently heard him do some voiceover in some commercials, but I thought he did a phenomenal job here. He plays Nicole Kidman's father. He's really wealthy and influential in the city and whatnot, and he tells Grace that, he came to me and asked to borrow $500,000 and wanted to keep it a secret from you. He said, I thought you guys were having some financial problems. So, he's like, I went on and helped him out. So that tells you how wealthy he is if he could just write a check for $500,000. Um, so that's something else that adds to the mystery that's here. Um, they do take Jonathan Fraser into custody. I think he's at Rikers Island or something, and he wants to see his wife, and he wants to see his son so that he can try to put together somebody who's trying to help him out, because he insists that he's innocent. And I guess he's somewhat successful, because by the end of the episode, Nicole Kidman, Grace, has decided that the way that she sells it to herself is, I need to help him because that is the father of my son. And if he's not guilty, I will need to have done the best that I could to help prove that. She does kind of seem like she is ready to move on from the relationship with everything that she's learned. The other, I think maybe the final thing that's not working so good in Jonathan Fraser's on his behalf is the fact that they took a paternity test and found out that the baby that that Elena just had before she was killed is in fact his daughter, Hugh Grant's daughter. So all of this is kind of falling in the lap of Grace in just a couple of days. Her husband was cheating on her. He hadn't been to work in 3 months. He lost his job because of this relationship with her, and that's what her husband's reasoning is. He sold it to her that Elena was she was obsessed with him, and he tried to break things off because she was threatening to tear up their family and so on and so forth. So that's why everything is pointing to him, that he has motive to be the killer, because he would have wanted to keep this quiet so that he can maintain his household with Grace and Henry. Um, so getting to the end of episode 3, he moves from having a public defender who's played by a pretty interesting character who I would imagine will not be around, because Grace asked her father, Donald Sutherland, to hook her up with this lawyer, this high-priced lawyer named Haley Fitzgerald, I believe. And she goes to visit Haley Fitzgerald, wants her to look. She's already reviewed the case and wants to get an idea of, does she think that she can get her husband off. And she has a very shrewd conversation with her. Um, Not so much like she's like, I'll do it, and she was like, I really don't. I think she was one of. I think her and the public defendant were both like, the truth really doesn't matter, or whether you believe it or don't believe it. The evidence is pretty strong. She's like, but what I'm an expert at doing is mucking up the story that the prosecutor is trying to make. And so they have a very interesting conversation, but you get the gist of it is that she does agree to represent her husband and give him a fighting chance to clear his name. Other than that, they take Henry. He agreed. He wants to go see his father, and it's crazy. One of the weird parts of this episode is watching this family coming from the means that they come from and seeing them inside of Rikers Island or whatever correctional facility this is, and having sitting there in the visiting room with all of the other people, the other inmates and their families, and of course, him being a doctor and everything that he comes from, and insisting that he's innocent, and also what he's kind of trying to do in weirdly, he thinks that he can keep his family together through all of this, or that after they prove that he's innocent, that somehow they can go on as a family. And but anyway, the son has an interesting conversation with his father. They end up touching each other. The cops come. I mean, the correctional officers come over, break them up, and take them away. And then I was trying to think what the final this week's cliffhanger was. Like, oh, another excellent cliffhanger to cap the episode off is that I had a feeling like there was something else that was going to happen, or something that we didn't know. And at the end of this episode, Grace actually goes to talk to the two detectives, one being Edgar Ramirez. I like Edgar. I like most of the movies that he's in, but he plays Detective Mendoza, and he's been pushing her buttons the whole time, kind of playing his cards close to his vest, not letting her know what he knows. But when she goes to talk to them this time, she asks, is there any footage anywhere around the scene of the crime? And you can see that Detective Mendoza is kind of prepared for this, and has something. And so he says, well, you know what? It is interesting. There was one camera in the area, in the vicinity of the murder, and he's like, let me show you, what that footage is. And they put the laptop on the desk, press play, and who comes walking into the scene, crossing the street, but Grace herself. And then she's sitting there kind of dismayed, or just, what is this? What's going on? Where'd you get this from? Or what is this? And he lets her know that, this is the only footage that we have is you in the area where this happened. So of course now, we don't know what's what now. The husband insists that he didn't do it. Here's Grace in the vicinity of where the situation, where the murder occurred. The other interesting thing was that the husband, the widower, his name is Fernando. He actually was aware of his wife's infidelity, and I think it was at the studio. She's an artist or something, and I think he went to go visit her or something at the studio, and John and his wife Elena were in there having sex, and he overheard them. So he's still, in my opinion, he's still not out of the woods with being a suspect. He definitely has motive. We learned that now, that he knew that, and then he's also, he's very distraught and upset because he felt, obviously he's in a lower social class than them. This man has killed his wife. He was sleeping with his wife, impregnated his wife, and he's sitting here taking care of this newborn, that's this other man's. So he's got a lot on his plate as well. Um, trying to think. I think that's everything to this point that's going on with the undoing. Like I said, man, with this being just 6 episodes, there be three remaining for season one. It's heating up, and I think another thing, HBO has just done really well with these limited series. Like I said, whether it was Sharp, I think it was Sharp Objects with Amy Adams. The Night of was excellent. The Outsider last year with Jason Bateman, that one was pretty good. There was another one that skips my mind right now, but that's it, man. It's good to see something with some real intrigue to it, with some decent storytelling to it. Super cast, with a bunch of excellent performances going on, with Nicole Kidman in the lead. Um, Hugh Grant doing what Hugh Grant does. Edgar Ramirez playing a pretty good detective. Donald Sutherland, like I said, the man is like 85 years old. He now the one interesting thing that happened in this episode was that Donald Sutherland, this really wealthy man, was out in the streets in the middle of the night looking up into he knows where the Alveses lived, and was actually outside looking up into his apartment while Fernando was in there doing something with the newborn, and kind of in mourning and whatnot. And Donald Sutherland, I think his name is Franklin. His name is Franklin in the show. He's actually looking up into his room, so he knows where they live. So was he involved in the situation? Because was he the killer because he was trying to take care of an issue in his daughter's life with her husband running around on her? So did he have something to do with it? Did Fernando have something to do with it? Another possibility is one of Grace's friends, who's an attorney. She actually represented Jonathan while he was going through his situation that led to him being terminated from work. And she just comes out and tells Grace that, I represented your husband. I can't tell you all the details, but this happened, blah, blah, blah. I thought it was over. And, I was trying to stay out of y'all's business. The thing is, though, at his arraignment, that lady was at the arraignment, and they made eye contact, her and Jonathan, and they made eye contact a couple of times. So, what's the true extent of their relationship? And now that she knew what that situation involved, she had to have known that he was sleeping with her. Was she involved with Jonathan, or did she somehow try to interview? We just don't know. So it's like 4 or 5 people to keep an eye on over these last 3 episodes. Looks like this. Thought I had it up. Looks like the next episode will be See No Evil. That's on this Sunday night. And the synopsis for that one is, or the description is, as Haley begins to shape the narrative of the case, Franklin uses his resources to help his family. So that's like I said, that's the lawyer, the attorney that they went and got, and I imagine he's gonna get out of jail too. The bail was set at like 2 million cash, and I think that's probably that maybe that's how he's helping the family. So it'll be interesting how they put this defense together. Um, I'm always down for a good court case. And lastly, just like they really haven't given us a lot of detail on the evidence against Jonathan, other than they knew that he was sleeping with the woman. They took some hair samples to get to confirm the paternity. Um, they knew about his work situation with him losing his job as a result of his relationship with her. I mean, they've said a bunch of things, but I don't see much we haven't seen much physical evidence or actually like a timeline put together uh, to give us that part of it. So I would imagine we start getting some of that in this episode 4. That's that. I'll probably come back on here and talk about. I won't wait to cover all the last 3 episodes together. Probably come on and do a lot. The only thing it's on Sunday nights when Sunday night football is on, so that's why it's hard to talk about it the night of. That's why I'm talking about it on Monday. But anyway, let me get in here and get this workout in. Let me know if you're digging the show or if you're thinking about checking it out. Who you think the killer might be. Anybody on the show that's pissing you off or you don't like, whatever. Uh, Again, pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.